Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Separation Space with Sam and Rachel, episode number 2. And this is coping with the process. So, Sam,
Good
first of all,
morning.
how have you been
I'm good. Nice to
since
see
last
you.
month?
We're in bright pinks today, Rachel. Oh, I keep touching my microphone. Sorry.
I know. Oh, I know. We're upping our game a little bit here now, aren't we?
Yeah.
We said we're going to keep it nice and simple, but we decided that we'll invest in some microphones. And my background is considerably different than the episode, so it's not quite as fussy. So talk to me. How have you been since last month? How did you find
Yeah,
it?
do you know what? After we did our episode, I was on a real high. I loved it. And the feedback we've had, and the comments, the
I
questions,
know.
the encouragement. Honestly, it's been amazing. And I think you and I are learning so much ourselves, let alone,
Yes,
building this amazing space and having all this support. So yeah, I was on
I
absolute
know.
cloud nine for ages. It really, it was great, wasn't it? Did you think so?
Oh, massively. We were both, we'll be honest with you, we were both so nervous, weren't we? And we still will be. And that's because we care about what we do so passionately. And because obviously the episodes are being uploaded onto YouTube, I can keep an eye on obviously how many people are listening and the duration. And literally, I was just blown away. I was just blown away by how many people just took the time to just tune in. And the beauty with these podcasts, and I've had this sort of conversation with a couple of friends, is they're out there forever.
Yeah,
They're not there to necessarily be listened to immediately
yeah,
because there'll always be a point of reference, won't they? Every
absolutely.
topic that we're covering this year, it's very main point and will really resonate with you, with whoever's at whatever stage they are going through. But it could be 6 months down the line, it
Yeah,
could be a year down the
yeah,
line. And I was saying to another friend of mine, I'm listening to podcasts at the moment that were produced back in
yeah.
2016, and I'm still listening to them
Mm.
now. And I will, because I'm a massive fan of just, learning and growing and finding a platform like we are. So yeah, we just had some really
We
beautiful
did.
support from everyone. So
We
thank you so
did. And I
much.
think you're right, Rachel.
Um, and it was,
Everybody will tune into an episode at different stages. What we're going to be talking about today is from the very
yes,
beginning, because it was logical to start at the beginning. But, once we've done our 12
yes,
months of episodes and beyond, they're just going to be able to tune into that
yes,
particular
100%.
topic that is bothering them at that time, or they're thinking about at that time. So,
Yeah,
yeah, definitely, definitely.
yeah,
And I
yeah,
think as well,
exactly it,
a
exactly it.
podcast like this, like we're both podcast fans and we listen to podcasts. And I think a podcast like this makes you feel like you're not on your own, which you're so not on your own. You might think you're
Yes,
the only person
yeah,
going through that particular feeling or scenario, or it's only your divorce that's like this, but actually everybody feels these feelings, and you're
yeah,
perfect. It's perfectly natural. So, yeah, yeah,
yeah.
so it was great. I felt great afterwards.
Massively. Oh, I know, massively. So if you haven't listened to episode number 1, obviously we urge you to go along and give that a listen to, because what that does, it sort of sets the foundations of us, who we are. January was all about introducing who we are, how we met, and the relationship, and this beautiful relationship we've now got together as coaches and as really good friends. And then together, how we've brought together the separation space, which obviously we've got a Instagram page for. We've also got a Facebook community page as well, so people can join that. So that's
And
interactive
it's
and people can
private.
participate and join and ask questions. It's a private
Yeah.
page, massively confidential. Everything must disclose that with everybody at any point. Obviously, everything's all confidential when you contact us. And then obviously we've got the YouTube channel, which is exactly where these episodes are currently being uploaded. And obviously we keep an eye on those as well. So this month
Yes.
we're we're very much moving from reacting to responding now. We're moving from the emotional overwhelm that we dealt with in episode 1 to some real grounded sort of navigation that we're going through. And it's going from survival to strategies. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. So it's real thoughtful decision making we're going to kick off with. So Sam's just going to talk through, I know we touched on it last month, but Sam will just talk through obviously the divorce process itself, because both of us have experienced when we're coaching people, that this is when the fear kicks in, because it's the fear of the unknown. So it's really important to just have a real beautiful summary of what that process looks like and what you can do behind the scenes, because divorce is just literally a process.
Absolutely.
The divorce just sits there. There's so much work that then can continue going on behind the scenes, which is what we'll be talking about throughout the year, and all the obstacles and all the challenges that you might be experiencing. So,
And it's
Sam, do you want to kick
I
off?
will, and it certainly is a process, and you can make that process not easier because it's and I've spoken to, so as you all know, I was a former family law practitioner for about 20 odd years, but I had a career break, and I'm now I work still as a paralegal supporting 3 senior solicitors in a part-time role, but so I keep my hand, and I know the process inside out, upside down, back to front. But what
Yeah.
I say, I've spoken to clients this week where they've been really unclear as to the process and how to cope with it.
Yes.
And for instance, I spoke to a client that divorced in 2018 and didn't realise they had to sort their finances out. So
Yes.
they've got 4
Yeah.
houses between them that now they've not dealt with any finances, but they're both, they're divorced and living separate lives. And then another client I spoke to, which we'll go into in more detail, they hadn't realised about this 20-week cooling off period. So it's not a quick process. And I think people think, oh, well, if we just issue an application at court and just say, yeah, well, he gets the house, I get the pension, or whatever that is agreed, that's okay. It doesn't work like that. So if you could be more informed and have support from a lawyer, a coach, a therapist, or anybody along the way, it will certainly get you through that process. It will make it shorter but anyway, we'll talk about it. But it's just coping with the emotions, and I think, and keeping it as short as you can, and just keeping it as calm as you can, actually. So, the process.
Do you get...
Sorry. No, carry on.
No. Sorry, go on, go. I was going to say about mediation as well.
Yeah.
That would be that must be a huge benefit. I know you've got clients that you really urge mediation as well. So,
and I'll touch on mediation
massively
in a minute. So, as far as the process is concerned, so I'm going to be referring to notes only because I had so much to say, and so I thought, if I'm looking down, I'm just referring back to notes. But the law changed in 2022. So when I was practicing in the 1800s, you had to have a reason that the marriage had broken down, adultery, unreasonable behaviour, all that. The law changed in 2022, really to make it less adversarial, so less aggro, really. And so the parties, there's only one reason that a marriage has come to an end, and that's because it's irretrievably broken down. Now, a solicitor can go through all the, the laws and the rules with you. But the sole ground for divorce now is that the marriage is irretrievably broken down. You can now, and you issue online. So it's just over £600 to apply for a divorce now, the application fee. You can also jointly apply. So both of you can apply to the court for the process to start. And that again leads to a less adversarial approach if you're both in an agreement. Say, right, let's go. You can't contest a divorce anymore because it's irretrievably broken down. So if one person is saying it's broken down, who are the other person to argue? So you can't contest it anymore. I.e., that doesn't create more friction. And there's a time frame.
That must massively reduce a lot, mustn't it?
Yeah.
Because I think back in the old, like you say, back in the old days, you could push back, and that would just open up a can of worms. So that's amazing.
I did when I used to practice. I've been in court where parties have not wanted to agree to the divorce, and again that's cost, that creates more tension, make more difficulties, especially when there's children. So this new regime was designed to help calm everything down, really, and make it, as I say, less adversarial. There's also now a 20-week cooling off period, which is the issue your proceedings online at court. Everything is online now. Everything's paperless. Although when you get your final order at the end, you do get a sealed copy. So you issue your application at court, and then you have a 20-week calling off period where in that time you usually deal with your finances. Now, again, I spoke to
and that's something really important, isn't it?
And also you can't, so after the 20-week period, you can apply for what's called a conditional order, which is the old decree nisi. You can't lodge an order at court dealing with your finances until you've got your conditional order. So, for instance, I spoke to another client who they had just issued their proceedings. They said they'd agreed finances and wanted to lodge their order at court. No, because their conditional order wasn't due until July or August. So you can't do that. So it's something to be aware of.
And I think the purpose of that 20-week period as well is it does give both parties time to reflect and hopefully just because emotion, and this is like when we speak about obviously the fact and fear scenario, it's like when you talk about getting a divorce, it doesn't actually feel real until this minute, this period of time that you're going through. And then when it hits you, that's where, again, we've both experienced clients where they've just gone, I just don't know what to do. I know I've got this fight. I know this is running in the background, but in the meantime, my head is all over the place.
Yeah.
And then obviously that's when all the emotions come in and the sabotaging and the self-doubt and everything else and the motivation and So, it can be, what we're trying to do is use it as your life can continue moving forward whilst this is all going on, isn't it? So,
I think,
and I think that's why it's purposely designed like that.
I think there is a real danger, isn't there, of just like living in this limbo land, waiting for a miracle to happen that you'll be at the end of it. And you have to put in those steps to get to the end of it. But you really, taking one step at a time rather than looking at the full picture, I think is key, and just breaking it down. And when you, and I don't think a lot of people realise as well, when you issue a divorce petition, it's not called that anymore, so sorry. When you issue a divorce petition, it opens up both of your financial claims in relation to the marriage. So everything opens up. And then you would deal with finances and then close them back down again in your order, so that whatever that order might be, and your solicitor will give you the legal advice as to what your situation should be. And that's why it's so important just at that initial stage to get, even if you don't do anything with it for a while, go and see your solicitor at the outset, set up a solicitor meeting, and I'll talk about what you need to do for that. But set up that meeting initially. You've got clarity as to your situation, which then gives you a bit of power. You can then make some informed decisions moving forward, whatever those might be, and your solicitor is there to give you that advice. They might say, well, this is your situation. I suggest maybe you go to mediation, try and resolve things through mediation, or whatever they might suggest. And I think preparing for that, and I know you and I, with our coaching, we say to clients, the most important thing you can do is initially just get that solicitor meeting, but use it properly. As in, I've spoke to a couple of solicitors this week actually who have had initial meetings with clients, and for the first half an hour, understandably, they're not criticising at all, that client has cried and been emotional. I think we've talked about this, haven't we? And whilst, of course, the solicitors,
that was me as well.
They are there to do a really important job, and you need to use that. You don't want to be spending 350 quid plus VAT buying. I get it. We understand.
Honestly, I completely hear you, because that was exactly me as well. I had not a clue, not a clue what to do, what to expect. Exactly what you just said. I did the right thing, made the appointment with the solicitor, had that first consultation with her, And I remember seeing her and sitting down, and my mum come with me as well. And I was marginally prepared, because I'm a little bit of a prepared
Yeah.
freak anyway. So I did have a little bit of like stuff on paper, financially, just where we were at. But I was like, literally sat there for 20 minutes, almost explaining why I was there and why I wanted to get divorced and why I didn't want to be with this man anymore, which sounds really sad when you think about
Yeah.
it. And she's just like, "Mhm." And like, £350. Do you know what I mean?
I know.
And she was like, right, come on, let's crack on. And I didn't realize. I genuinely didn't realize. I just, I thought she was going to go, oh, Rachel, it's okay. Here's a tissue. You'll be fine. Let's talk about your emotions. No, and this is where, oh my God, this is where we need to get the message across so
Yeah.
clearly, is that the solicitors are there literally for the legal and financial
Yeah.
guidance,
Absolutely.
support. It's what you're paying them for. That's why, that's their
their
expertise. They
yeah.
want the best outcome for both
Yeah.
parties. They want the most fairest
Yes.
outcome for both
Yeah.
parties. I know it might not feel like it at the time. So, oh, well, I contributed this and I paid for that. And they want the fairest outcome, especially when there's children
Yeah.
involved as well. So right. It's like you need
You need
preparation,
some
guidance.
structure. Oh, definitely. And I've created, which we're going to pop in the separation space. I've got a guide as to what to take, what to prepare for that first meeting.
Amazing.
And it just
Amazing.
and talking to a
Oh,
solicitor as well. So the client is prepared. They know what they're going to ask. We can prepare and say questions for them, all of that sort of thing. The solicitor is prepared. The solicitor can
yes.
get right into the nitty-gritty and give them that clarity that they need. And then I think when you've got the clarity, you can make informed decisions. So whatever that might be with that client's situation. And then we are there to help them through whatever those strategic plans that the solicitor has. So it's definitely, again, I met another solicitor who said it's teamwork. You need different people around you when you're going through a divorce, because everybody is, supporting you in different areas. And it's so important.
Yeah.
So the process,
Yeah.
and as we talked, when I said it opens up your financial claims in relation to the marriage, you can then deal with the finances. So you have your meeting with your solicitor and they'll talk you through what your options are. The finances can be dealt with.
Yes.
So you have to give disclosure. So disclosure is what you've got, what they've got, what you've got in the pot, literally what your financial circumstances are. And then they can start to see what you need, what your personal situation is. Now, disclosure is done in what's called, or provided for, in what's called a Form E. Now, this is one of these bad boys. So they are 27 pages long. This is my what is this? This is my precedent that I show clients, and we start from here and we go through it. And
it's like your Bible, isn't it? It's the Bible of
I help clients go through this, but it's a daunting document. And I don't know about you, but in normal life, we don't actually fill in forms, especially forms like this. And I also think
I don't care how intelligent you are or how clever you are. There is when your brain chatter is going on about the emotional roller coaster that you're going through, when you've got to try and sit and fill this out, it is the most daunting, frightening process.
And also
possible. However,
and you're dealing with your emotions, you're dealing with home life, children, work, school WhatsApp groups. We all know what they're like. And then dealing with forms like this. So you either disclose, you either provide voluntary disclosure, or the other party. So, and you can go into voluntary negotiations, i.e. with mediation. Which is really powerful, actually. And you can also, not a lot of people know this, but you can have legal advice alongside mediation. So you can go into mediation sessions and still check back with your solicitor. You can do that as well. And then if you can't reach an agreement, voluntarily, you can apply to the court, because sometimes people drag their feet, but you have to be ready
Yes.
to engage in 3 sets of hearings if you go to court, and I can talk you through those. And money, fees. So if you can do it on a voluntary basis through mediation, absolutely. There is also a process called one couple, one lawyer as well. So you can go to see your lawyer if you are agreed, and you can say to your lawyer, if they do the one couple, one lawyer process, you can go to your lawyer and say, right, this is what we've agreed between us. The lawyer will then have separate safeguarding meetings with you to check, you're not having a gun to your head and you agree this. And then they can look at the proposed agreement and say whether it would get, a judge would approve it. Because just because you say so, say there parties reached an agreement, now that might be very unfair to one party, or a court won't approve it. So if you put it into the court once you've got the conditional order, a judge might say, no, I'm not approving that. You need to go back away and negotiate. So with the one couple, one lawyer, the lawyer can look at the agreement and say, right, okay, I don't think the court would approve this. So is there things we can talk about? Can we tweak it? Or
so they'll sort of like they'll sort of effectively proofread it before it gets submitted, because obviously you don't want to waste people's time, do you?
No.
So there's no point submitting something that realistically it's just going to get thrown out. And when you say about talking to like lawyers and stuff like that and judges, this is all done via phone call, isn't it? It's not a case of actually having to. Sometimes you have to be present.
Sometimes with the consent order, a judge might want to see you, so the solicitor and the parties can explain. But mostly it's done on paper now. When you apply,
because I think sometimes when people hear,
and also there's a form that you fill out with the consent order called a D81, which sets out all your financial circumstances. You need a lawyer to help you with that.
Yes,
you do.
They
are
exactly.
And that's not
exactly
that's they are tricky, and that's what the lawyer is there for, to deal with that. If you do make an application to the court, so say you can't agree finances, there's no way, you're in a lock and you need to apply to the court for finances, that's a separate application, which leads to 3 hearings. Your first hearing is the first directions appointment, which the court will say, right, you've got to fill out a Form E by a certain date and that sort of thing. Then there'll be a middle hearing, which is called a financial dispute resolution hearing, where a different judge will look at it and say, right, can you try and resolve this? And more often than not, cases settle then. You still can't agree, and your costs are now up in the gods. You go to a final hearing, both parties. That hardly ever happens now. I mean, I remember when I was practicing, and we used to have quite a lot of final hearings, but it doesn't happen now. And those hearings are usually done in person if you issue. But then the first one, you might be able to agree directions, but I'm, and done as a paper exercise, but that's not for. I just don't want to overwhelm people by talking about all that. But there is a remedy.
No, it's just really just key areas.
There is a remedy. If you can't agree finances, you can go to court. So I think the important thing to know is that when you apply to the court for your divorce, it also opens up your financial claims that need to be dealt with, and you shouldn't just get a final order without dealing with your divorce finances.
Because I think that's what some people misunderstand, isn't it? When you say divorce, you just assume divorce is just, I'm going to get divorced. But obviously you've got the financial side that runs parallel. If I remember rightly, and please correct me, but by getting divorced, all that does is just sever your ties with your partner in terms of you can legally remarry. It doesn't mean, it means that it doesn't sever the financial bit that we're talking about, which is the important security bit, isn't it? So it's imperative that if you go through a divorce, you do the financial as well as the divorce.
You need legal advice.
You need the legal advice. Especially if there's assets and money and property and
Businesses.
pensions and contributions and
Yeah, yeah.
businesses and
You need legal advice.
and all sorts as well.
The other
So
thing to remember as well is when you divorce, when you get your final order, that would affect any, so you should, that would affect a will. So you need to redo your will as well, when you divorce.
brilliant advice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
When I met with my solicitor, she was amazing. And it was one of the first things she actually said to me. She said, Rachel, she said, please do a will. And don't be too frightened when we say do a will and think, oh my God, that's more legal costs, because you can do your
yeah,
own will as
yeah,
long as it is witness
yeah,
signed by two
yeah.
people,
Independent,
as long as you've got
independent witnesses are full
something
aid.
down on paper.
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah, as long as you've got something written down on paper
yeah,
and it's witness signed by two
yeah,
people, like not family
yeah,
members, um, and like that's exactly what I did. So I needed to protect potentially in the event of my death, because obviously if I'd passed away, obviously still whilst being married,
yeah,
everything would then go naturally to my
yes,
spouse.
absolutely.
And if you are in a position where you've got stuff that you don't want that to happen to, and i.e. children
Yes,
that you want it to be left to, which is what I had. I've got 2 daughters. So I made sure I did a homemade will, per
yeah,
se, for want of a better word.
yeah,
It doesn't cost you anything, but it does take time, but it is so worth it, and the peace of
yeah.
mind. And then what I did is when my divorce was finalized, I have very recently just done my grown-up will, if I
Updated it,
say,
yes.
and you can get them. I've updated my will, and I've got things in place now, so which has been all done through a solicitor at a really reasonable cost. So yeah, that's just the most amazing, best
Yeah, yeah,
advice
yeah,
is I
definitely.
can't recommend that enough.
Definitely.
Is getting your will sorted.
I'm just going to.
Yeah.
The other thing I wanted to say was about divorce fatigue, which I sort of named this thing called
Oh,
divorce fatigue, and it happens so much.
amazing. Yeah.
And I think you get
Yeah.
to, well, I've seen clients get to, and I know I've chatted with solicitors recently. One of their clients, 3 years in, and so they're at the stage of like, just have what you want, I don't care. Um, so I think divorce fatigue is a thing, and I think our support in that. For instance, I'm helping a client with his
Yes.
For Me. He is so
Yeah.
fed up. He's just, I just can't be bothered anymore. And we're like, no, we're near the end. We just got to do it, you know. And with me just there supporting him alongside his
Yes.
solicitor is really helping. So it is a thing
Yeah.
to think about,
Brilliant.
and I think through all that, and it is a lot to digest. I think the main thing to do is to be prepared to take one step at a time and cope with each step of the
Yes.
process one step at a time. You can look at the whole picture, of course you
Yeah.
can, but the other thing is to ask, you know, and or somebody like you or
Yeah.
I to ask, what does this stage look like? What can I expect? You know, ask those questions so that you are
Yes.
informed, so that you feel in control. And I
Yeah,
think
massively. And Sam, are you going to put this like on a little little tiny
yes,
flow chart
we
for
are.
us?
I'm
So you're going to
preparing a
pull
flow
something
chart.
together.
Yeah, so I'm preparing a flow chart that we can.
Yeah, that's
You can
amazing.
ask, and I can send it to you. Just a flow chart showing you the process of where gets to where, because it is a lot to take in. So at least if you
It's
can
a
look
lot
at
to
it, you
take
can
on.
say, "Oh
Yeah.
yeah, I'm here in the process, and that's where I need to get to."
Yes.
But
Yeah.
just
Amazing.
ask, you
Yeah.
know, ask if there's any questions in here. I'm always happy to answer any questions.
Yeah.
Um, you
Yeah.
know, in the
Yeah.
separation space, just ask.
And how long is that process roughly, Sam? Would you say? Let's give you the scenario of an ideal situation. Okay. So assuming both parties are relatively on board, they're being coached, it's all running smoothly. What is like the sort of rough indicate, how long
Mm.
is the divorce
I'd
process these
say on the
days?
simplest case, 12 to 18 months.
Yeah, okay. That's a good benchmark
Yes,
then. So it gives people an
yeah,
understanding on that when the time
yes,
happens, this is from beginning to end,
yeah,
this is roughly how long it's
yeah,
going to take. And that's assuming all your ducks are in a row.
yes, yeah.
And okay.
And,
Okay.
you know, and I
Brilliant.
know we're going to touch on co-parenting at a different time, but you see, you've got that in the middle of all that as well that might fl
Yeah.
flag up.
Yes. Yeah.
And I know we're going to talk about, we've had so many questions and from our lovely,
Oh,
lovely listeners. They've been so amazing. And we're going to
I
relate
know.
to one in
Thank
a
you.
minute. But
You
we've had
are.
we've had amazing questions, which we've dealt with in DMs, and we've replied to them all. Hopefully we
Yes,
have.
we have.
But one of
Yeah.
the other really good things about communication, which again we'll talk about, and especially with co-parenting. So if you find it hard to communicate with your ex, because I know sometimes, you know, when things are high, the emotions are at their height, and it's really difficult. There is an app called My Family Wizard, Our
Yes.
Family Wizard, sorry, and you can use that to communicate with as well, which is really helpful.
Yes.
You can put like calendar dates in
Yeah.
there, school dates, holidays,
Yes.
and you
Yeah.
can also
Yeah.
so in WhatsApp, sometimes I think you can edit messages in WhatsApp. You can't in Family Wizard. You can't change
Yeah.
them. And also you can change the
Yeah.
tonality as well. So say your ex
Yeah.
is particularly difficult and triggering and says things in a nasty tone to you, you can change the tonality. So when you see it, it doesn't trigger you. It's really helpful. I have got an account with
Yes.
Our Family
Yeah.
Wizard, and I'm more than happy to refer anyone to that if they need
Yeah.
to. And actually, they're really good. So there is a fee to pay, but if I refer, I think we can waive fees and stuff like that. There's a way
Okay.
around it.
Brilliant. Yeah. Yeah.
So I
Okay.
think
Thank you,
just to
Sam.
say the solicitor guide, sorry, the guide to preparing for your first solicitor meeting, we can send that to anybody who needs it as well, can't we? We've got that there ready to go.
Brilliant. Yeah.
And also
So
if
they
anybody
can just
needs,
contact you
yeah,
directly.
if anybody needs help in filling out formies, you know, or just
Oh,
any
you're the girl.
questions. God, I see them in my sleep sometimes.
Oh, yes. I know. I was at a networking event a couple of weeks ago, and I was chatting to a lady there, and I was talking about you because she was at a position where she was going through the divorce process, but they'd separated, they'd sold their house, and they were in different homes now, and they were getting their lives on track. So they were sort of doing it like the other way round, but then they realized they then needed to go through the For Me. And she said, Rachel, it's just blowing my brain away. I went, I know the person. I know the right person for you
Keep
to
them in
speak
our
to. Oh
sleep.
my God. So again, it was like literally she said, we've both sat down and looked at these forms and gone, what the hell are they asking? What does that terminology mean? What does that mean? You know, and then they kept clicking on information, and it's like, so yeah, it's
The other thing as well,
amazing. So
they ask for like a schedule of outgoings, a monthly schedule of outgoings. That is really tricky to do. That can take a couple of hours just to do that
yeah,
sometimes. You know, going through
yeah,
bank statements,
yeah,
seeing who, you know, we don't really know what we spend every month or what, and it's not just that. So say you're looking for your future needs. Now, you might think, oh, well, I need that 3-bedroom house in that area. Okay, so what gas will I be paying in that area? What will I pay for a gas or electric for that
yeah,
3-bedroom house? What will be
yeah,
the council tax? What will be, you know, so there's lots of things. It's not just a matter of going, oh, 20 quid, 30, you know, you have to really think about
yeah.
how you
You
fill that
literally drill
schedule out
down.
and not pitch it too high.
Yeah,
So a judge would go, come on, £700 a month on makeup?
yeah.
I don't think so. Believe me, I've seen that before. I have seen that. 700.
I can well imagine.
So
And I bet they didn't have a divorce coach.
to be really, really realistic in what you are
There's a
asking for.
pattern here. Yeah,
You know,
exactly it.
you've got to be sensible. You've got to be, you have to think about it.
Yeah,
So it's all that situation. We can help with that as coaches. We can really help with all those little things
yeah,
that you can
yeah,
you can say to your solicitor, I've done my forming, I've done my schedule of outgoing, I know where I want to live. These are the outgoings from my new house. You know, paint this picture of what you want to be, and again, we can talk you through all that.
yeah, yeah.
Mm, mm.
Brilliant. Thank you,
I hope
Sam.
that's
That's just
helpful.
amazing. I mean, again, it's just this just echoes exactly what this episode is about. It's just literally coping with the process. And
Yeah.
you've just, just as you say, although you feel like you've summarized it, there's
Oh,
so
so
much
much.
more depth now,
Yeah.
so that hopefully when people can re-listen back to this and they'll go, right, I'm at that stage. Okay,
Yeah.
so this is the expectations that are needed. This is probably where I need to be. So we can always just keep referring back as
Yeah.
well. So I'm going to, because you were just talking about co-parenting, it just feels natural to move on
Yeah.
now from that, because I think having experienced co-parenting from two different scenarios, so a little bit of backstory about me. I've got two daughters, and I've co-parented twice, co-parented in two completely different scenarios, and everyone's situation is going to be completely different. With my eldest daughter, we weren't married, we just separated, and I'd managed the co-parenting situation with that. And obviously I've gone through a divorce and I'm now co-parenting with my ex-husband with her. And we will be covering off co-parenting later on in the year, because this will need a whole episode. So I'm just going to touch on something really subtle and that's sort of quietly in the background at the moment, because the scenario is that what you're talking about, Sam, is there's very likely going to be children involved. So everything that you've spoken about with those early stages of the process, you've got both parents that are going through a very strenuous moment, tension. The scenario probably is they're both still living in the same property, and there's a good chance that there's children, and I'm going to say children under the age of
Yeah.
18. So they could be anything from little tiny toddlers, primary, secondary school, or even, doing A levels. I cannot stress enough at this stage that as a parent, and don't get me wrong, I have drastically got it wrong. I know I have in the past, and recovering from it is very, very challenging. And I didn't have a coach, and I will always be a massive advocate of needing a coach, because I needed
Yeah.
one. And this is why I'm so passionate about co-parenting, because I don't want people to go through the same heartbreak and pain that I went through with co-parenting with both of my children's fathers. Is we need to shield them.
Yeah.
And that's the only message I can really say at this stage, is shielding our children whilst as parents and as adults we're going through this. And what I mean by that is, because emotions are just going to be so high, it's imperative that the routine remains the same. And I don't care how or what you think about your partner, whatever the reasons of why you're getting divorced or separated, whose fault it is, who's who thinks they're entitled to more than the
Yeah.
other. The children must be
Yeah.
shielded. And the best way to do that is keeping a sense of routine. So things like the school routine, the school pickups, parents' evening, school plays, anything that crops up, you remain as united as possible. And children are very resilient. They are the most resilient things in the world. You'll be amazed how resilient kids are,
Mm.
because a lot of relationships have potentially maybe not separated because of the children, because they wonder, oh my God, is this going to
Mm.
damage
Mm.
them? And you'll be amazed. And that's a conversation that we'll talk about in the co-parenting. And I think for me is managing that emotions that you have for your partner at the time. Is I listened to a podcast many years
Mm.
ago. It's a lady called Brooke Castillo. She's American and she's fabulous. I still listen to her to this very day. And she spoke about the manual. And the manual is, and we all have a manual for everybody. We carry lots of manuals around with them. And if you're of a certain age, those of you that will know, do you remember the old Haynes manuals that you used to have for your car? The old Ford
Yeah.
Escort, the old Cortinas, a picture of your car, there's your
Yeah.
manual. And in that manual, it would literally have what you need to do to this car to make it run, fix it, do this, do that. It was a manual. So imagine you carry this manual around for your partner. I did an exercise, and I did it also quite recently, because you can also use it in life. I've used it with friends. I've used it with my own
Yeah.
mum. I used to carry a manual around about my mum. I had these
Really?
expectations of what I expected my mum to do and say and be. friends, work,
Wow.
colleagues, my neighbor. So I did this manual for my husband and I wrote down what I wanted him to be like, where I needed him to be, how I wanted him to respond. I needed him to be calmer. I wanted this, I wanted that. The expectations, I needed there to be peace. He should be doing this. Why is he not paying that? I need more money. Da, 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 da. I wrote it all down and then I threw it away because I realized I can't control him.
No,
I can't control
no,
how this other person's going to react.
no,
I can only control what I can
no.
do.
Yeah.
So my first biggest advice would be is if you're in a situation and you're co-parenting at these early stages and your expectations of where you need to be with that partner is the first lesson we learn, and when you're going through a divorce, your emotions will be amplified beyond anything you will ever imagine. You will experience vibrations in your body that you have never, ever experienced
Mm.
before in your entire
Yeah.
life. And you don't know how to cope with them. You're frightened, you're scared,
Yeah.
you're vulnerable, you feel like a victim, hard done by. Why has this happened to me? You just walk around on this planet hating everything, everybody, and you don't know how to cope with it.
Yeah.
So the reason why we're here to support you is that we will gradually introduce, so everything that Sam's talked to you about with the process, behind the scenes, that's where the real work really
Oh my
begins
God.
because we don't want that 12, 18-month period to go on any
No.
longer. And in order for it to run smoothly, behind the scenes, you need to ensure life continues as calmly as
Yeah.
possible. And my God, I wish I'd had that manual back in those days
Yeah.
and realized that, because I'll be honest with you, I probably wouldn't be where I am with not so much my eldest daughter, but with my youngest daughter, the challenges that I've had and still are having with
Yeah.
her, not her, but the relationship I have with her father.
Yeah.
I so wish I'd had that manual and so many other things that we'll talk about.
Yeah.
So, and again, it shoehorns in beautifully with that app that you were talking
Yeah.
about, the wizard
Family wizard.
thing,
Yeah.
because you start procrastinate family wizard, because I think that will support communication. Because then eventually, if you're sniping about, well, when are you picking her up? What time you were supposed to be there at play? She's got this match, and she's supposed to be at ballet, and all of a sudden you're just like, and then the kids need to be shielded. And if you can just remain in harmony,
Yeah.
regardless of how you're feeling inside,
You can see how it happens,
that is the
can't you?
biggest.
You can see how the
Yeah,
sniping starts and then it's like a domino effect, isn't it? And I've seen
yeah,
that so many times.
yeah,
And I think
yeah.
reminding yourself, always going back to you can only control the controllables and you can only control your
Oh,
reaction to somebody else's behavior. You just cannot control their behavior. And I think, isn't it,
yes.
it's so freeing when
You
you
can't.
when you realize that you
Yeah,
can't control somebody's thoughts, you can't control their behavior, you can only control how you react. And like you said, in the background,
yeah,
whilst this process is going on, you've still got to live and you've still got to provide that
yeah,
safe, calm environment for the children. So I think, like you
yeah.
said, coach in that is just invaluable to keep you grounded,
It is.
and reminding you,
It
you
is.
do the
And
work at the
it's,
end of the day. We're just there to support you, but it's reminding you that
yeah,
you can do it,
yeah.
you know?
Yeah. And I think as well, it goes back to shoehorning in about mediation and obviously everything else. I think when you look at your support team, and I know we touched on this obviously in the first episode, having your support team in there, which is your solicitor, it's going to be your coach, it's going to be a
Yeah,
mediator, it will be your friend network,
yeah,
it will be your friend down at the gym
yeah,
and everything else. Because obviously there's only a level of expertise that your friends can be there for you to help support you with emotionally, because obviously they're going to be
yeah.
there. They're always going to agree with you.
Yeah, yeah, exactly,
Your friends will
exactly.
always agree with you, won't they?
All the
So,
time.
but sometimes when you will need to take mediation somewhere professional,
And me and
don't necessarily always gravitate.
yeah, and mediators, I mean, I do work for mediators, and most of them are they're
Yeah.
former family law practitioners. They know the system. They're lovely.
Yes.
All
Yeah.
of them are so
Yeah.
specialised. They have incredible
Yeah.
training, and
Yeah.
they're really, really good. They know what they're doing, especially with children matters as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm,
100%. Yeah, 100%. So that's what I just wanted to just touch on very briefly about
I love
co-parenting.
that.
And as I say, I know it'll be something
Yeah,
we'll delve a little bit deeper in. But to begin with, I just think that was just a really valuable tool to
so
start off
valuable.
with. And just remember that. And you can use that, you could just use that in life with anybody.
Yeah.
You know, if you're in a situation and you just think, write down your manual for this person.
Yeah.
And you'll find it's just so freeing, isn't it? And as you say, it's just giving yourself back the
Yeah.
power, which sort of then leads me on to obviously the stress and the overwhelm that we have with all of these decision making as well. And you said it beautifully about what you can control and what you can't control. And again, another brilliant exercise that I've used with my clients as well quite recently is with when you've got clarity, it reduces that fear, doesn't
Yeah.
it? So when you understand where you are, it reduces the fear, the
Mm,
panic, and everything else.
totally.
So I had a situation with a client who was she'd literally filed for a divorce a couple of years ago. It was still really stagnating along. They hadn't really moved forward. They were living separate lives, still in the same property. And they were coming to the point now where they needed to get the financial order in place. The forms needed to be filled in. And obviously, there was friction and conflict about pensions and shares and property and the house and everything else. And what we did was we went through, and I call it the window of clarity. And this is another brilliant exercise. I love this one. And again, it's getting a bit of paper and quietly on your own, you can think about this as well. Is you sit down and visualize a window. So as a child, I used to think you draw a window with a line across vertically and horizontally. And in one box, you put what you can control. One box, you put what you can't control. And in the other box, you put what's urgent. And then in the other box, you put park.
I love that.
So as we're going through our coaching session, I told her to do this whilst we were chatting. So we were talking about, okay, so what can you control? So she was like, well, I can control me filling in the for me. Right, fill in the for me. Self-care, you can control that. I'm going to put the nails in. Good, control that one. Boundaries, I can control my boundaries. Again, boundaries will be another episode that we'll talk about in more detail. I can control that. Future, I can control my future. I'm start writing my future. This is how it's going to be. So what can't you control? Well, I can't control him filling out the form. Okay, that's fine. You can't control his delaying. Can't control that. You can't control his emotional reaction to stuff. That's the way he's going to deal with it. But you've got your boundaries in place. So we went through and things like urgent. So, for example, she had a situation where they were looking at the finances and she realized that she was paying for some utilities that needed to be cancelled. So she's like, I'm not paying for that. I'm getting financial independence. Again, something else we'll cover off. That'll get cancelled. So that was urgent. So she put that in her urgent file. Things to park. Well, think of what can you park for now
Yeah.
in your brain that you think, park that, doesn't need my attention right now, but it's still
Yeah.
there. So she was thinking, by the end of the session, I was like, how's that window of clarity going? And she was like, I filled it all up, Rachel. She was like, I was like, brilliant.
I think
So as
that
we were
is so
talking, she was like, oh, I can
powerful.
control that. I can't control
Yeah.
that. Oh, I'll park that one. And what it does, what she didn't realize she was doing is that she was just literally brain
Yeah.
dumping everything out of her brain. Because what happens is our brain is like unsupervised child. It just runs around unsupervised, doesn't know what it's doing. It's like having a playground of 5-year-olds with all of these emotions going on. And then all of a sudden, you just need the teacher to blow the whistle, get everyone in
Yeah.
line and go, right, come on. So that was like the analogy that I
Yeah.
used with her. It's like, we need to put it down. And as you say, this is when journaling comes
I bet
in,
she felt
writing stuff
so much more in
down.
control.
Oh my God. She was like, oh gosh, it was like all of a sudden, it was like, I can deal with this
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
I've got it. I was like, good, move forward. And if you ever feel that anxiety and that overwhelm coming in again, she did it again. She'd just literally do a
Yes.
window of
Yeah.
clarity. She'd jot down and she'd screw it up and throw it away if she
Yeah.
wanted to, or she'd keep it and
She's got it
refer
out of
back to
here,
it.
hasn't
But
she?
it just helps.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just helps.
Yeah.
And as I said at the beginning, there's so many feelings and emotions that can be feeling so alien to us. We just don't know how, we've not been taught how to cope with them. And this is where until you get this support so that we can get the legal side running along smoothly, and once we've accepted where we are, we can then just move on with that clarity.
I think that's
And I
so
think
powerful, Rachel. I think
you had
you can use that in any scenario, can't you? The window of clarity.
any scenario. I mean, yeah, exactly. It's about just, yeah, any scenario. You don't have to be going through a separation or divorce, but if you can use it in your
Yeah.
workplace. You can use it, as I say, you can use it with friends.
Anything.
If you're going through a little bit of a sticky pitch with anything, work,
Yeah.
programs, projects,
Yeah.
we might do it when we're brainstorming about stuff. It's
Exactly.
like, right, okay, Sam, what can we control? What
Yeah.
can't we control? What needs to pop? What's urgent?
Yeah.
Once we've got that written down, it's like,
For me, being the
it's
being the
out.
parent of an adult, being the parent of when
Oh,
your child
yeah.
turns 18, that is
Oh,
another story, isn't it?
so, it's another story. So, Sam, you had a beautiful question come in, didn't
Yes.
you?
What was
About,
remind me? I've got.
you had this lovely question
We
come.
had one of our.
So
Yeah. Sorry.
it was one that really, really resonated
Good.
with you. It was, so the question was, and this shoehorns beautifully in what we're talking about. It was like, how do you keep your energy and motivation, and how do you avoid self-doubt? Which I thought was, oh my
Both
God,
of us,
it's
when we read the
amazing.
message, both of us were
It's
like, "Oh my God, that is such a great question," and I think
great question. Love
and I
it.
think so many people would be feeling that, keeping their energy up. How do you self
Yeah.
doubt? Am I doing the right thing? Is this right for me? What am I doing?
Yes.
And I've said and I've written down. I've written it down because it just really. I
Yeah.
felt that we could just help so many people with it. But the honest answer is that you won't feel motivated every day. You just can't, because in this you're in a high conflict situation. You're going through something you've never been through before. So you will have days where you do not feel motivated at all, but that is okay. Divorce is emotionally and mentally draining. Some days you'll feel clear and capable. Other days you're like, I can't do anything. Everything is just, nothing makes sense. So
Yeah.
you and I talked about this, and we said that we always get clients to focus on three things. One is reconnect with your why. So why are you making these decisions? Really think about it. If you feel you're having a wobble,
Yes.
really think, why? Why am I doing this? Why am I going through this process for peace, stability, a healthier future, a
Yeah.
better future for myself and my children? Return, and when you feel like the noise gets too loud and you feel that overwhelm in any stage of the process, just go back to your why and why you started it, and how how you've envisaged your future beyond that, and just keep going back to that, to keep grounding
Yes.
yourself really with that. Protecting your energy,
Yes.
'cause,
Yes.
the person asked how to protect your energy when you're exhausted from it all, and I know,
Mm.
it's filling out forms, coping with the emotions of co-parenting, not sleeping, all those sorts of things, dealing with solicitors. So, your energy is as valuable as any financial asset. So prepare properly for meetings,
Yeah.
limit draining conversations. Now that might be with an ex-partner, and again, that you can go to Family Wizard and have conversations in there, rather than, or just say, I'm not talking to you about this anymore. Or via email, this is what I want to say, end of. Don't go back and forth, just limit those conversations. Prioritize sleep and movement, get
Yeah.
out for a walk in the fresh air, take a bedtime tea, look at your bedtime routine, just make sure you can get some proper
Yes.
sleep. Because I think if you're sleep deprived, everything feels terrible, doesn't it? You
It
can't
does
think properly when you're
massively.
exhausted. And then finally, I was thinking, separate feelings from decisions. So feel everything, feel those emotions. Don't stuff them down, just feel them. Where are they coming from? Journal about them, talk to a coach about them, talk to a friend, or, just, that would then enable you to make decisions from a calm and informed place. So rather than, so for instance, if you get, so in the process, either party can raise questionnaires. Sometimes they're really difficult to read because that other party might be saying difficult things that you need to answer. And the
Yeah.
first, first reaction is take some time, read
Yeah.
it, breathe,
Yeah.
park it, move away,
Yeah.
come back and deal with it another time. So
Yeah.
just really be conscious of
Yeah.
um, protecting that your peace, I suppose, protecting how you
Yeah.
react. And so with all those things, just little tiny steps, and I
Yes.
think that will really help. And also self-doubt doesn't mean
It
you're
will.
weak. It means you're doing something that
No.
you've never been through before. And
Yeah.
everybody doubts themselves, everybody worries. And motivation just
Yeah.
works by just showing up and doing these little steps every day. And a quiet
Yeah.
strength, just
Yeah.
quietly getting stronger and stronger, working on yourself in this way will just get you through.
Yeah.
And again, we go back
Yeah.
to just one step
Yeah.
at a time. And that's,
It is. And it's like you say, that's,
yeah, yeah. Sorry.
oh, sorry, go
No,
on.
it's just really
No,
going back to
no,
one step at a
that's,
time. Yeah.
and it does. It just, yeah, it just all circles back round, doesn't it? I think once you reclaim your power,
Yeah.
because at the end of the day, emotions are a tricky little thing,
Mm,
aren't they? Let's face it. And we deal with emotions so differently. And it's like, you know, it's how we react and respond to the emotions. So like this, when this question come in about avoiding the self-sabotage and the self-doubt, the avoidance is, I imagine, like a beach ball that you're holding underneath the water and you're pushing it down and you're pushing it down, you're pushing
keep
it
bobbing
down.
back up.
And the analogy is that you're avoiding it. And the idea is that's causing tension. It's causing tension. You're just going to start looking at other way. And the idea is you need to let go of that ball so it can just pop up and just you can and start feeling those
Yeah.
emotions, because that's when you're resisting. And the minute you start resisting self-sabotage and why do you feel lonely? Why do you feel this? Why do you feel that? When you start really thinking about that emotion, and it is literally just a thought. It is
Absolutely.
just literally a thought in your head, isn't
Yeah.
it? It's just how you cope with that
Yeah.
thought when it comes into your
Yeah.
head, whether you resist it, whether you like avoid it. No, just keep pushing that ball back down, whether you react to it. And reactions could be, like you said, lashing out, being annoyed, slamming doors, you know, um, just screaming at each other, that knee-jerk
Yeah.
reaction. You've also then got the distraction.
Yeah.
What do you then start distracting yourself when it comes to emotions, when you feel really low? Why, so what am I going to do? Do I hit the gym? Do I overdrink?
Eat loads
Overeat?
of crisps.
Do
Yeah.
I, yeah, do I sabotage myself and just with substance abuse? Do I start gambling? It's all a
Yeah.
distraction.
Yeah.
We're just
Yeah.
distracting that
Yeah.
brain from and then that causes the motivation and then the
And it's
fatigue, and
just
then
a
you're
domino
wondering
effect,
why
isn't it?
why do I why what do I need to get back?
Yeah.
So of course, obviously, when we get questions coming in like this, as a coach, it depends on the background. Obviously, there's going to be some background behind that question. So we then start asking, so when do you feel less motivated? What time of the day do you feel less motivated? What's happened? Have you had a conversation with someone that makes you feel like,
Yeah.
oh, I feel really crap? So there's loads of questions that we ask, because what we do is our job as a coach isn't to give you the answers. We don't know the answers, but what we can do is we ask you the right questions, we set the right environment for you, and we guide you, we give you the tools and the
Yeah.
techniques to help you
We hold
explore
space, don't we?
more
Hold a
why.
safe space.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And then fundamentally with emotions is feeling
Yeah.
them. Like you
Yeah.
said, we need to learn to
Yeah.
feel our
Feel the
emotions,
feels.
so if we do feel like self-sabotaging and doubt and critical, where do I feel it in my body? Like, for example, if I feel, I feel like I've let someone down, or I don't feel happy with myself, where do I feel it in my body? I generally feel it in my
So do
stomach.
I.
I feel it in my
So do I. My
throat.
tummy. Yeah. Oh,
I
yeah.
feel, yeah.
Yeah.
This is, we're not used to
No,
this body, this vibe. What are these
I know.
vibrations? Someone's explained to me, like, when I think I had an email come through from my solicitor, and the title was so triggering, I can't remember what it is. I all of a sudden had this hot
Yeah.
flush of like heat.
Yeah.
Because I was frightened,
Mm,
thinking, "Oh my god!" And it's like, and this, my hands were
yeah.
tingling and stuff.
Yeah.
But then when you sit with it and go, I was like, "It's gonna be all right, Rach. No one's gonna die. It's
Yes.
fine. Just calm. Just sit with them emotions. It's
Yeah.
okay. It's okay to feel like you want to avoid."
And I know, and we're going to be obviously talking
It's
about boundaries. It was a good time to say about next month. We're going to be talking about boundaries and values. And I
yes.
think sometimes with your values, if one of your particular values is a certain thing, then behavior from somebody else that
Yeah.
doesn't align with your value just creates these feelings
Yeah.
that they are
Yeah.
understandable, but you
Yeah.
don't understand them at the time. So once you can go back to how
No.
you can write down your values and say, oh yeah, that's why I'm feeling that. But again, we'll touch on that. And another thing about um, how the other way you can claim your power back, if you like, is what you can ask yourself this question. And I do that to myself sometimes when I feel really overwhelmed, if I've got a lot going on.
Yeah.
What do I need to get through today? What will help me today? What do I
Yeah.
need? And just
Yeah.
write it down.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, that is so powerful. So it
Yeah.
might need, right, I do need to get out for 10
Yeah.
minutes for a walk in the fresh air. I do need this, whatever that might be for you. Just writing it down and acknowledging that you need that to get through today is so
Yes.
helpful.
Exactly it.
Yeah.
Honestly. And again, like I said, it's just you're on this rediscovery. You're on this unwittingly, unknowing to
Mm.
you at the time. It will never make sense
Yeah.
when you're in it.
Yeah.
But as time goes by, all life is doing is it's just giving you these
Yeah.
tools and techniques
Yeah.
where you become all of a sudden, like I have done, and we've both experienced, when we look back and realize, I had to go through that. I had to
Yes.
go through
Mm.
that. Life is
Mm. Yeah, you
50-50.
have to go
You
through it.
have to go through those tough
Mhm.
times, because my resilience is
Yeah.
so much more
Mm.
resilient. I don't people please anymore. I'm not going to agree with everything that everyone says anymore. Within reason, being polite, of course. But the Rachel 3 years ago would have been, "Oh, that's okay. It's all right." But, it's like trying to turn what seems to be a very sad experience into a very positive new
Yeah.
beginning. And again, another beautiful subject that
Yes,
we'll talk
absolutely.
about is about reinvention. So
Yeah.
I think for now,
That is so I've loved that. I've
um,
loved talking about that.
yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? And I think we have coped with the process and drilled down the
Yes.
beginning, the middle, and the end.
Yes.
And we're so excited for next month
We
in April because Sam and I, we're going to be meeting up in
we
person,
are. I'm so excited.
and we are going to be we're so
We're
excited,
gonna
and we're
redo the
going to
bench scene.
be yeah, yeah, redo, get some up to date footage. We'll bombard you all. You'll be like that. Oh God, them again. um, so in April, we're going to start now every month really drilling down onto specifics,
We
aren't we
are.
now?
And we
So this is where the journey
yeah.
starts to begin. Because I think we've done this, we've really set the scene the first quarter of the year. Oh my God, quarter.
Quarter
How
of
am I
the
saying
year,
that already? We're in
Rachel.
March. It's ridiculous.
Oh my God. But
God's
I'm
sake. It's
so
like, where's time
I
going?
know. But I think our next subject
It's
will
frightening. Yeah. Yeah.
boundaries and values
So
will be incredibly powerful.
boundaries and values. Yeah. So if, again, usual thing, if anyone has got any questions and they're a bit confused about what boundaries look like, they don't know how to set their boundaries, they've not even thought. I mean, as I said to you before, I think I've mentioned this before, I had no
Oh,
idea
no,
what my boundaries were. I had
no,
no idea what my
no,
life value was.
no,
At the grand old age of 51, I do now, obviously, but 3 years ago again, not a clue. I
no.
didn't know what a boundary
Mm.
was
A
or a
value?
value.
No.
And it's important, yeah, it's important to make sure the terminology is delivered
Yeah,
correctly, because some people think boundaries and values mean something
yeah.
different. So within our coaching world, we need to. So any questions, anyone wants to know, they've got a boundary and they're struggling to enforce it, or they've got values, but they're not really defined enough and they need help defining what their values are. Maybe following through, maybe you've got your values and you just don't know how to execute them. Anyone that's got any questions around that, please,
Oh,
between
yeah.
Sam and I, we're meeting up. Of well, it's after the Easter
After
holiday,
Easter,
isn't
yeah,
it?
yeah,
It's the weekend after the Easter
yeah,
holiday, so got plenty of
yeah,
time to send in, and we'll send you little
yeah.
reminders as well between now and then, when we come to record, and then obviously the episode itself will go out, just under a week after. So the episode will probably come out towards the end of April,
I
won't
think
it?
we're
By the
meeting on the
time we meet
18th,
up,
aren't we? So yeah, so
18th,
it'll be the
yeah. So it will go
following week,
out the
won't it?
following week, won't
Yeah.
it?
But yeah,
Yeah,
I'm really
yeah.
looking
So you've
forward
got
to it.
plenty of time to get some questions in. Really
Yeah,
looking
and
forward to it.
understanding
And
understanding why you're feeling about this, about your value. Yeah, there's so much to touch on. Yeah, it'd be really, really good. Really, really looking forward
oh
to it.
yeah, so it'll be a really good meaty
Yeah,
good
yeah.
conversation. And again, I know I said it before as well, and Sam has. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Yeah,
We are so grateful for everyone's support and enjoying the journey. And as I say, as time goes by, we're growing, we're learning, we're going to make mistakes ourselves. We're not perfect. We're going to stumble across. Um, but your feedback is grateful. Um, this will go out obviously next week. So depending on when you're listening
yeah,
to this, obviously we're March in
yes.
2026. You could be listening to this in 5
Yeah,
years'
darling.
time. Who
Yeah, yeah,
knows?
yeah,
But it's March
yeah.
2026.